Hey everyone. I hope we had a good first week of school. I think it went pretty well. Um, so, starting in our second week, we're going to be talking about our class syllabus, policies, and the artistic thinking process. We're going to be getting a little more into our plans and our approach for our class specifically. All of you are in pre AP R3, so it's going to be a little more uh, in depth, like focusing on what you want to do. And we're also going to build on some skills that you've already learned, learn some new techniques and hopefully some new materials. So, anyways, I'm just going to go over that with you. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the artistic thinking process. So, let's see. So, classroom expectations. Number one, we need to be on time to class and with our assignments. If you are learning from home, then you need to be kind of up to date on our Google Classroom. I'll be uploading our videos daily, and I'm gonna, that'll everything on Google Classroom will be up to date and reflect what we're doing on an in-person learning. So just make sure you're kind of on top of the ball with that. It's better to be organized than not. If you have any trouble with this, just email me or give me a call. I'm going to go over my office hours and phone extension on our syllabus, so watch for that. Number two, be considerate and respectful of others. These are all of our peers in our class. We need to be respectful of everyone's time and space and, what they need to learn. So let's try not to distract our friends and stay on task and still have fun. Number three is, of course, use class time wisely, showing good work ethic and effort. Ideally, we won't have much homework in this class as long as you are on it with getting your work done in class. We will have many work days to be working on our assignments in the classroom, and if you can keep up with that, then you're probably not going to have a lot of homework, which is awesome. Number four is help keep the room clean. Of course, this looks a little different this semester. We have less opportunity to share supplies. I will let everyone know, on a case by case basis of how to return your supplies to me. Most of the time, if you're borrowing something like a ruler or a couple colored pencils or something, I'm going to have my bucket, my sanitization bucket, and you'll just drop it in there, and I will clean it. So we just need to keep the room clean. If you get a bunch of eraser stuff on your desk after class, you can just scoop it up and throw it away. That'd be great. I think that one's a little obvious. Let me know if you have questions. So number five, keep artwork and supplies in proper storage places. This semester, since you're in Art 3, you're going to be able to store your portfolios in the classroom. We need to be respectful of the space that Art 1 and 2 need throughout the year. So if you can maintain keeping your supplies in your portfolio folders, as well as your assignments, and then storing those away in their designated spot, will be okay. Just basically don't leave your stuff everywhere. Number six, follow directions. This is, if we have a work day, you need to be working on your assignment. If we have a day where I'm kind of doing a demo or lecturing, please be listening to me. Let me know if you have questions about that. And number seven, have fun. We're in art class. I hope it's fun for everybody. If you're hating what you're doing, then let's talk about it. We should be learning a lot, but also having fun. That is definitely a goal. So our syllabus, I'm going to upload to our Google Classroom. Once it's uploaded, will be, let's pull our class up real quick. 7th hour. Once it's uploaded, I will have it under our class information tab right here. Probably be right under there for you to access whenever you need it. But for now, I'm just going to go over it here. And I'm not going to read every single word on this page, but please read it on your own time. I'm just going to emphasize some of the important things. So if you would like to reach me by phone, The best way to reach me is going to be Tuesday, Thursday, Friday at between 10:30 and 11:55. Those are my office hours. My phone extension is 50413. So if you call the high school and it's like, enter your phone extension now, that's the number you'll put in to reach me. And of course, you can always email me anytime. So Art 3 is an honors course designed to challenge the gifted student. We're going to have emphasis on drawing and design skills, creative problem solving skills, and technical skills with various mediums. So basically, this course is going to focus on strengthening your drawing and design skills and your creative problem solving skills. And we're going to explore some new media and different ways to make, maybe ways that you haven't made before in Art 1 and 2. This course, it's kind of expected for you all to be proficient on the elements of art and principles of design and how to apply those within your works. If you're a little loose on those, that's okay. We're going to be doing a really fun assignment probably this week and next week, just so I can gauge where everyone's at on that, because I understand last year classes ended a little early. Things got kind of hairy, so we will work on that together. And this course is really going to emphasize personal growth and, the creation of a portfolio, especially if you're looking into getting into AP art. We want to make sure you are equipped with the skills to dive into AP, understanding kind of, how to research the things you would be interested in researching. We'll talk a little more on that later. But one thing I'm excited about is that this course is going to utilize the open art room concept. So it basically focuses on your choice of media and concepts and ideas behind your works. So you're going to have the opportunity to, after I have maybe shown you some different skills or mediums, you're going to be able to branch off and explore things within our project, but on your own. So I know that's a little confusing, but let's say that I give you, we learn how to use water-soluble charcoal graphite, and then we also learn how to use watercolor. Maybe the assignment will be that you can branch off and choose one of those medium. Like, you don't have to just pick one, and you can research an artist that you've really been interested in and try to recreate their style or do something. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, it's going to be a little bit open-ended. I'm not going to just tell you to draw an apple and we're all going to draw the same apple. But yeah, we'll talk about that a lot more as we go on. We're also going to use the artistic thinking process, which is what we're talking about today. It's a little bit like the artistic scientific method, if you want to compare. And then, of course, we will be following the Arkansas State framework set for the course. So working at the level that is expected of you. This supply list we've already gone over. Really, the next couple weeks, probably the next week and a half, we'll just be needing the pencil. Beyond that, please get these supplies or let me know if you're having trouble finding them. I will help you. So this next part is pretty important. It's the 5 C's, which is our grading policy. So this is basically a breakdown of the rubric that you will have on each major assignment, each big project that you turn in. So you're going to be receiving grades for everything we do in this class. But the biggest thing, of course, are our major projects, and they will be following these 5 C's. So the first one is going to be composition and craft development. So this is basically talking about your attention to planning, sketching, researching your idea, understanding and connecting different concepts that we talk in class, maybe some stuff that you research, your understanding of the elements and principles, working together in your artwork. So like if you really wanted to utilize line and texture, like how did that come through? Yeah, so this just basically is an underlying way to see how well you understood the project and the materials and tools, and that you intentionally applied all of those things. So you're really thinking about what tools you need, just everything involved. You've had a very thoughtful approach to what you're doing, and your planning has been pretty successful. The next one is creativity. So we want to see an expression of individual style using your personal experience or past knowledge. It needs to be unique and well thought out, also visually appealing. To get an A went beyond and above expectations. So craftsmanship. The artwork is basically well done, looks professional and thought out. There's detail within the work. You haven't ignored or skipped a bunch of areas. You've considered everything. You have controlled your materials, tools, and processes throughout the project. Captivity. So this is like the way you've used your time in class. If you're, distracted on your phone or whatever, obviously that's a problem. If you're just sitting around saying you don't want to do the work, that's an issue. Let's talk about it. Let's figure out what you're not liking and let's make it better so that you'll be interested in doing your project. Basically, we need to be engaged, self-motivated, and not distracted from our projects in class. And if you need to take your work home and do more than is expected to get the project done with the level of attention and care that it needs, then that's what we got to do. So basically, if you're using class time wisely and you're making clear effort, then you'll be good on this part. Okay, next we have completion and depth. The finished work is successfully executed from concept to completion. You have a novel and original approach using the steps of the artistic thinking process. The requirements have been met. The concept and media techniques were explored. All aspects of the artwork were considered and patiently completed. So basically, I think what all of these have in common is that we want to see originality within your work, which is something we talked about within the what is creativity. We want to see that originality and individualism, a general interest in your projects, using your time wisely, making an effort to complete the project, and generally just turning in something that's well considered. I'm not grading you, if you don't shade something with absolute perfection, that's okay. I'm less interested in grading you on those terms, and I'm more interested in grading you on terms that include you being self-motivated, interested, and staying on task, and generally creating a project that is your own and is very considered. If you have questions about any of this, of course, we can discuss it. If we have any questions that come up in class, I'll type them into our Google Classroom. If you are unable to be in class, just so you can, I'm sure more people would have those questions if they're being asked. So just watch for that. Okay, so portfolios and supplies. Everyone's going to be given a portfolio and some supplies from us. You still need to bring these on your own, but here in the art department, we have purchased some supplies for you. I think I said this before, but you'll be able to store them in the classroom. Only the Art 3 students are able to do that, so be glad. You can always choose to bring your belongings home to work on assignments, but you have to make sure you're bringing them into class, because if you don't have your project in class, then we got an issue. The portfolio and supplies provided by the school will need to be returned, so please make sure you're taking care of them and not throwing them away by accident, losing them, breaking everything. I understand sometimes we have like oil pastels and they break really easily. Don't worry, that's okay. But I mean, just like, please respect your tools. And don't draw or write on the portfolio because we also reuse those. All right, now we have some general classroom policies. Cell phones, big one. I know we kind of went over this already, but I'm gonna kind of start hunkering down on this one when we start our projects. You can use your cell phone in class during studio time. This means times that we're working on our project and I'm not up speaking to everybody. I understand that, like, personally, I focus a lot better when I'm listening to music. I completely understand that, and I want you all to be comfortable in art class and having a good time and focus on your project. But if your phone ends up distracting you from your assignment, if you are routinely ignoring what's going on in the classroom, if you have your phone out during a time that I'm giving a demonstration or that I'm lecturing, or if I see you on anything other than music streaming apps, um, you will get a warning. And then after that, you will be given a discipline notice, and the phone will be turned into the office. And at that point, your parent or guardian will have to pick up the phone. So let's just not get to that point. All right. If you have any questions about that, please let me know. I will usually let you know when it's a good time to have your phone out for music. If you're confused, let's talk about it. Occasionally, we are going to share supplies and tools. This will probably be very occasionally, not often, because you're going to have your own tools. When this happens, they need to be cleaned and returned in the same condition they were provided. If we're in class, we will be dropping it in my bucket. I'll come around with the sanitization bucket to collect tools, and I will clean them. Tools may not leave the classroom unless I give you permission. And misuse of art materials will result in your loss of privilege to use them or disciplinary action, depending on what's going on. So, you know, no using tools as weapons. Please be respectful, don't break them. Yeah, just I feel like that's pretty obvious. So when we're making artwork, we cannot have any inappropriate imagery or anything. We basically need to abide by our student handbook when we're choosing topics. So no profanity, nudity, gang relation, alcohol, or drugs. If you're making artwork that is disrespectful to a group of people, that's also not okay. If you think something might be inappropriate, but you're not sure, just talk to me. We can figure it out. Often we need to understand the intent that we have when we're making our artwork. I understand if you want to make something that is based on maybe like something political, which is totally fine, but we need to make sure that we're approaching it in a respectful in a respectful manner that is not disrespectful of any group of people or is not inappropriate. I think everyone's on our Google Classroom, which is great. All of you seem to be very proficient in Google Classroom. We will probably be taking photos of our artwork and uploading it that way, especially if you're online. That's how I'm going to be grading your artwork. I understand we don't all have the like most, high def cameras to take pictures of our artwork with, but your phone camera is fine. I just ask that you get it in like the best lighting possible so that I can grade it accurately. And then finally, if you are absent, it is your responsibility to check Google Classroom for missed lessons and assignments daily. Please, if you're supposed to be in class that day, but you're at home or you missed class, whatever's going on, check the Google Classroom. Usually if we have assignments, they're not going to be due the same day. You'll have at least a day or two to finish them. So if you just make sure you are keeping up with that, you'll be good. And as always, email me with any questions or if you're having trouble turning something in, and we can talk about it. Communication is great. So the next thing on the syllabus is our just a sheet acknowledging that you and your parent have read this, and you acknowledge these things. I'll let you read those. To sign below, just open it in a Google Doc or Doc Hub and just type your name, and your parent will need to type their name and make sure you include the date. And that will be it for the syllabus. But yeah, you should, if you have any questions, you can reference this or you can ask me directly. I'm always open to answer questions. Don't feel like a question is stupid because it never is. Okay. Okay, so we have gone over our class syllabus. The next thing we're going to do is talk about the artistic thinking process. This is really important for everything we're going to be doing in our class this semester and the year. If you've been in science class and you've talked about like the scientific method, how you approach researching and doing a project in science class, this is a little bit similar, but it's our art method basically. Any big assignment you do, we will be using this process. So it's important that you understand it. But we're going to go into it in depth here. So if you have any questions, email me. You can comment on our Google Classroom. I'll be posting on the stream, and you can always comment questions there if you don't want to email. But yeah, let's get going. So number one, the first thing that we'll think about when we start a new project is our inspiration. So this means, what do I want to make? Let's say we are starting a project with, we're going to do a still life, and you get to choose the objects. Well, where are you going to find the inspiration? Do you want to look at your favorite things that you have in your room, or maybe you like a part of your house, like your kitchen? Maybe your kitchen table always looks really cool and you really want to draw it. Those are two things that count as inspiration. I have a bigger list here. This list isn't final. You can find inspiration in lots of places, but here are a few examples. So some people might find inspiration within research. So if you really think that medieval Europe is really cool, you learned about it in history class, and you really want to look at medieval art because of that, that's awesome. We can do a project on medieval Europe. So basically, that would mean that you are finding ideas and you're really excited and inspired by that period of time. So you would do research on the different art styles of that time. You would look at different artists. You would research maybe how people lived in that time, like what artwork was important for them to have around. Any kind of research applies here. The second thing could be observation. So I have included this photo of a house. Maybe you have like a photo of a place you've been, or you think your backyard or the park downtown is really cool and you really want to draw that. That's a good source of inspiration. You can also draw from personal experience. So we can use the same picture as an example. Let's say this is your childhood home and you have a lot of memories there. So you really want to draw it. That's great. That counts as a personal experience that we can recreate in art class. You can also do a project according to opinions and beliefs. So if you have like a belief you feel strongly about, maybe you enjoy going to church a lot, you want to do a project about that, awesome. That is a source of inspiration. Function and aesthetics. So for that one, I have a painting of a vase by Van Gogh. I know a lot of you probably know who Van Gogh is. He painted Starry Night. Maybe you're very inspired by the way that he paints and you want to try to recreate his painting style. His brushstrokes are very particular. The way that he paints is very unique. That's a great thing to want to explore. If you have a favorite artist, that can always be an awesome source of inspiration, and we can definitely dive into that. Self-expression is the next one. I have an example of this painting by Anna Valdez. She had some art in Crystal Bridges a couple years ago, and I really enjoyed it. But I enjoy the way that she expresses herself through her art. So she's basically chosen this subject matter as kind of a personal expression, because you can see that she has all of these plants, all of these little pictures in the background that she's chosen to include in this painting. And she's expressing herself personally with her personal interest through this painting. So maybe she really loves taking care of plants and she loves caring for things. Maybe she really loves milk, or she has a memory tied to milk, you know? So that's a form of self-expression because she's taking something personal and she's used it as a source of inspiration. Themes are also a really good source of inspiration. So here I have the color blue. Your theme can be as simple as that. Like, I really want to use the color blue. That's great. Other themes could be nature. You can do nature or weather. You could choose your theme to be sports if you're really interested in sports. If you're interested in a specific medium, like here I have some oil pastels, that is also a good inspiration for your work. Yeah, so inspiration is very open-ended, and it's really important for us to get started and get excited about what we're doing. Number 2 is development. This means, how do I make my idea visual in the best way that I can? When we think about development, there are a couple methods that artists can use to develop ideas. Well, more than a couple. Most of my lists here today are not final. But the examples that I have are sketching to find composition. So we can use our sketchbooks to find different compositions or viewpoints of things that we like to draw. So composition basically means the way that you lay out a picture. So if I decide to have my vase, my flower vase, to the right of my image, and I crop it a little low so the whole flower vase is not in view, but I've focused in on one part of it, that's a composition. We'll talk a lot more about that later. Another way to develop your idea is to create a practice version. So maybe we'll have an assignment where you're going to draw on a paper that's 15 inches by 11 inches. That's a pretty big drawing. And maybe you want to practice it before you get going, because I know sometimes it's hard to get started on those because you're like, what if I mess up? How do I fix it? So a great way to combat that is to create a smaller practice version of your assignment before you start on the actual final project that you're going to turn in. That may mean that you are doing a color study in your sketchbook, or you're just getting a smaller piece of paper to practice on. Okay, so making a model. This might apply more to a 3D project. Sometimes if you're doing like if you're in ceramics class, you may want to make this big, intricate kind of vase or something. Sometimes it's easier if you start small and make that thing small, and then you can understand how it works, and you can see the issues that you might face when building it big, and you can create a smaller version in order to be better prepared to make the larger version. This kind of goes into making a practice version. So the next way that we can develop ideas is to incorporate our research and to learn new information. So if we're continuing to develop our ideas about our project, if we are, let's go back to our Van Gogh example from number 1. Researching his technique in painting, looking up some of his paintings online and zooming in really closely to see how he uses the paintbrush, seeing what kind of colors he usually uses, like his color palettes, just collecting all the information we can. That's really important. That is another method that we can use to develop our ideas. The next one is to practice technique. So if you just started using watercolors and you're a little hesitant to, jump in to get going, I know watercolors are really loose, so they can be have a really big learning curve for some people, which is completely normal. Sometimes it's a lot easier to practice using them before we start a big project. So you can do a whole sheet where you're just like painting the color blue, just to get used to how the watercolor moves, to start to understand how much water you may need, like your water to paint ratio. That's a really good way to start practicing before you begin so that you can better understand your material. The last one I have is to experiment with new ideas, media, and methods. So this just means, like, if you want to experiment a lot before you jump into anything. Like you have all of these ideas and you don't know which one you want to focus on. Maybe you spend a couple pages in your sketchbook just jotting all your ideas down, practicing with multiple forms of mediums. If you can't like decide on watercolor versus oil pastels, maybe you should try to use them in your sketchbook side by side and see what technique you like better, which one you think will work better for the assignment, using different methods. Basically, this is just like practice, developing your ideas further by utilizing a little bit more research if you need to. Research can be personal research. It can also be more academic research where we are looking at other topics. Your research can also include like collecting materials. Like if you really want to learn how to draw leaves better, like go out and collect a bunch of leaves and press them in your sketchbook, and then you can draw them side by side to learn, you know, how the different veins usually move. Leaves often kind of decay really cool, like they'll start to have yellow and orange and different colors in them, and you can study that leaf like really closely to see how those colors change. Yeah, this part of the artistic process is kind of fun. I think all this this preliminary work that we do to our actual projects gives us a lot of opportunity to just have fun and go with it and enjoy what we're doing. And you can always, if you decide that you're like, I really thought I was going to be into this, but I'm not, we can talk about that and we can find out what parts you don't like, and we can find out what parts you are really enjoying, and try to better accommodate your assignment for that. Number 3 is creation. This is how do I apply what I've developed into a successful artwork. So this is the actual like hands-on starting to make my artwork part of the artistic thinking process. So some things to consider as you are making your artwork is reflection. At all times of making your artwork, we should be thinking about how it looks. We should be thinking about what will people who are looking at my artwork see, and we should also think about what we're trying to communicate and what our intention is within our artwork, and if we think that's coming through. Art is not like something that, you know, it's just done once you've done it. Art can always be like revised and worked on. Sometimes it's really hard to pinpoint the spot that it's done. Some artists say that their work is never done. They just happen to stop at that time. Yeah, but throughout the creation of our projects, we can always be thinking about these things and improving it. If you have an area of your painting that, you know, when you drew it at first, you thought it looked really good compositionally, but after you looked at it, you were like, there's a huge blank spot and there's nothing there, and it doesn't look great. Like my artwork isn't balanced. We can talk about adding something there or figuring out how to maybe use paint differently or a different technique to like create texture in that area. I know some of us watched that video on art conservation. I think it was the artist Rousseau, and they used the X-ray technique to see underneath the painting. Excuse me, that he had originally drawn a vase, and they realized that they could see that sketch, but the final product of his painting, the final painting, didn't have the vase in it. Well, that's an example of that artist using reflection and revision during the creation of his artwork. He realized that the vase maybe made the painting look too busy, so he decided to take it out. That's okay. We can always, you know, the first thing that you draw doesn't have to be what ends up on your final result of your painting. We always have the freedom to improve our artworks as we're making them. Okay. Number 4 is reflecting. So this is analyzing what you see, collecting information for revision and future art making. So this is kind of like after we've gotten to a stopping point with with our artwork. Um, we will think about how you can make improvements to it. What is something from the assignment that you struggled with, and what would you like to work on in future projects? So right here, I kind of thought of the example of, if you're in English class and you're working on an essay, one of the final steps is to revise your work. Like you would go through and check your grammar, maybe fix some run-on sentences. The same thought applies to making art. We can, of course, always make improvements on our art. If you notice something you really struggled with during your assignment, maybe that's something we need to focus on in your next assignment. So if you really had trouble shading something, maybe your next assignment we should explore shading a little bit, and we should try to kind of expand on that skill so that you get to a place where you're comfortable. Um, Also, as we do projects, it might become evident to you that you really like certain mediums and you really don't like certain mediums. Personally, I really don't like charcoal because it gets my fingers dirty. I know some people really love charcoal, but I learned that because I did a project with charcoal. And now when I make something, I'm like, maybe I don't want to use that. Maybe I'd rather use watercolors. So, as we're working on our assignments, you should be reflecting like after about the things that you think you could fix, um, and things that you might be interested in tackling in the future. It's okay in art class if you don't feel like you're good at something. To be an artist, you don't have to be amazing at everything. There are 100% artists that really don't like to draw. It's a common misconception that to be an artist, you have to know how to draw really well. It's not true at all. We all have our favorite ways about going about things. We all have our different talents. Everyone's talented in different areas. So the important thing is to learn to understand that. I don't say that to make it a point. Well, I don't say that to be a misconception. Like um, if you don't put effort into drawing and that's why you're not good at it, that's a completely different thing. If we're putting effort into it and you're just like, I just really don't connect with this, that's different than not putting effort into something for the sake of not putting effort into it because you just don't want to do the assignment. Um, so yeah, I hope that's clear. But awesome. Let's go to the next thing. Number 5, this is the last step. It is sharing. So this is collaborating with others, giving and receiving feedback, and presenting your work, and finding ways to improvise and revise. So I kind of like focused on the collaboration part because I think a lot of this has to do with understanding where we're at in reference to the feedback that we get and maybe learning from our peers. So the first one is, how did my peers approach this assignment? What do I like about their approach that's different from mine? Or even what do you dislike about their approach that's different from yours? We all have our opinions. It's, the same in art class as is real life. If your peer does something and you're like, whoa, that was really cool. I really want to try that next time. That's awesome. Like, that's an opportunity to collaborate. You can both share your skills. Um, that your classmate can give you pointers and be like, hey, I tried this on my assignment and it really helped me. Maybe you should try that too. Um, Art making is very community based. We're always helping each other out. Um, if you become an artist, the artist, we call it the critique. It's very important. Sounds a little scary, but it's basically just sharing your artwork with other people and getting feedback from them. Um, and that's really important because at the end of the day, when you create artwork, typically it's going to be consumed by other people. It might exist in a gallery or you might put it online. Other people are going to be viewing it. Artists will typically find those opinions and the feedback that they get to be important in order for them to improve. So you can focus on what feedback you got from the project and what you can work on to make your next project even better. In art, much like a lot of other subjects, we're always looking to improve on our skills and our understanding of what we're doing. So sharing and providing respectful and helpful feedback to our peers can be really important in art, and it can help us grow. And I think that is all we have for the artistic thinking process. If you have any questions about this, let's talk about it. We can open a discussion on our Google Classroom if that helps. But this will be a good thing to reference through the semester. And I will either upload this PowerPoint or a sheet detailing all of this to our Google Classroom so you can reference it. But we'll probably talk about it on a project by project basis as well. So great, I hope you liked the class today. I think this is pretty fun. It's exciting to learn about just how open art can be and how you can interpret each project on your own. So yeah, I hope this starts to get us set up to really start working on projects and learning more in art class.